What's up YouTube, it's me Unique here with another hair video today, and today's video is going to be on my braid patterns for all my crochet looks. I am using my handy dandy hair mannequin that I've had for over 10 years since cosmetology school. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. I do want to let you all know that every piece of hair that I use, I've done a video on previously, and all of those will be in the description box below, as well as links to those at the very end of this video. Okay, so when it comes to parting, you can have either bone straight parting, or you can have parting that's not so bone straight. It just depends on what type of hair you're using and what style you're doing. So now what you want to do is, there are two types of braids. There are the lazy braids, as I call them, and then the right braids, as I call them. This is just in my opinion on the types of braids. So this, to me, the way I used to braid to the point where I was pulling back on the hair. I was pulling the hair back as I braided, which resulted in a looser braid. In order to braid tight, you have to pull the hair into where you're braiding it. So I'll show you the loose way of braiding. So you take your hair, split into 3, and then you just start doing the crossover. Now, as you can see, my hands are already back. My fingers are already pulling back. Nothing wrong with the braid itself, you know, it's just gonna be looser. See, as I pull back. I'm not the best braider in the world, but you know. So that's a braid, that's what I call the loose braid. Now these braids that I'm doing are relatively the same size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one down, and I'm going to show you what I call the tighter braid. So this is the tighter braid. Same thing in the front. You're going to take the hair into 3 sections. Now with this, watch as I pull the hair. I'm going to pull this hair into the braid as I go. So we're going to twist, you're going to start that twist. And you see I didn't even move. So as I'm moving slow. But I'm going to pull this hair up into the braid. Same thing here. I'm pulling the hair into it. And I'm not leaning back. I'm pulling the hair into the actual braid. Like I said, I'm not the tightest braider. I'm not the best braider in the world. But this is like tips that I have with myself. Now usually my braids are a lot more straight than this. But I twisted it a little bit. But you get the point. So you need to pull the hair into the braid. And actually I'm going to redo that so it's straight. See how I'm pulling the hair up into it? But you can clearly see the difference. You can see the difference between how this one is more lax and then this one is more tight, is more sturdy. This one, you see how you can lift this up with it being lazy? You can lift this braid up. With this one, and I haven't even finished it yet, but with this one, you can barely lift, but this one, you can lift a lot. Okay? We're going to jump into braid size. Now, the size of your braids depend on what type of hair you're using. So if you're using something like spring twists are going to go for relatively smaller parts because they look better that way. Now, if you're using something like the model glance, which I also have a video on, these are bigger. So you're going to go for something that has bigger part. See, with this being bigger hair, you won't pay attention to it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like with the smaller. Same thing. See, bigger hair can have bigger parts and smaller hair needs to have small parts. But here's the thing, well, small braids. Here's the thing about that. So when you're doing this, you have to remember, the more braids you have, the more hair you're going to have to use. So you have to plan out your braid patterns. Now, this is another thing I want to show you. Now, you see how with this braid, how far away from it is from the part. So imagine if that was on both sides. You have all this space here. In order to close up the gaps, like, so say if your client or you want your part to be on the side, because this is her face, well, this is the middle. So if you want your part to be in the middle, wherever your hair is going to lay it, so your hair is going to lay out like this. You want this braid to be closer this way to the part than you do in the middle of the braid, because this is in the middle, this is centered of this, so you want it to be closer to this part. So when you're doing wherever the client or where your hair is going to be parted the most, you want to make sure that that braid is closer to the part itself, so it's not so far apart. So when you're braiding, you want to braid in this direction. Now you see how much closer that is to that part? See how much closer this is to the part? So now when you take your crochet, so say if this was your client's part, you see how that part is now? See how the hair looks like it's right there on the part versus it being all the way over here. So that's what you also want to be mindful of. You have to be mindful of that when you're doing the hair. So along with that, when it comes to making it look as if it's individual. So say you have a client that wants it to look as, you know, as individually parted, you know, individual faux locks, individual braids, anything like that. That's when you go to things like this here. This is basically different sections to make it look as if the client or you have individuals. So you'll do little braids and then you'll do those into one big braid. So when you're doing this, and I'm going to use the model glance braids for this, and I also have a video on this as well. And you see how already that looks like individuals, because right up under that you're still going to put stuff on this braid. See that? And it looks like it looks like your client or you have individuals instead of crochets. Now that's another thing you have to keep in mind of too when you're doing crochets. You can always go through the top this way, or you can go this way. You know, you can go either way, but that also depends on what you're doing and where the part is. So like for this one, you see how this one is the opening of this one, you can see an opening of this one. So this one, so when this is not on like the part of the opening, it really doesn't matter because you won't see it. But let's say this is at the part. So with this being at the part, you want to go this way into it. And you see that? See how that loops over it? Versus the other direction. See how that loops over that? Just like that and lays flat. Now the other direction. This is what happens when you do the other direction. That opening, this one you don't have an opening. See how I'm moving there and there's nothing showing? But on this one, with no problem, it shows. So you have to be mindful of that, which way you insert compared to your parts. Then, as far as the individual look, it's the same. It goes hand in hand with the back of the head too. So say your client, if you know they want the individual look when they have their hair parted to the side, but if your client wants that in the back of the head, you would do individual braids going up and then go that into another braid. It's the same way. So each one of these will be individual braids, so that when you put the crochets on there, they look like individuals, and then they will go into one big braid, you know, so that way when the client pulls their hair up, that's all you see is individuals. Alright y'all, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And that'll be it today.